Hey guys, sorry I can't be here today. Something came up, but we're going to take notes and we're going to act as normal. So that's your title today: the impact of fiscal policy on aggregate demand. So in the past, we've been talking about aggregate demand increasing, shifting to the right, decreasing, shifting to the left. But today and tomorrow, we're going to be talking about how much aggregate demand changes by. We're going to make it quantitative rather than just like qualitative. Just instead of saying shift to the right, now we can say like shift to the right by this amount. But there's first few things we got to know first. There are only two things that we can do with our income. We can either spend or we can save. There is no third option. So when you have money, you can either spend it or you can save it. That's it. A couple things we got to know is fiscal policy affects our income. So, we just talked about our income, we can spend or save, and fiscal policy indirectly affects that by changing like our taxes and government spending. People that make more money, that have higher incomes, they do spend more, but they actually spend a smaller percentage of their income compared to poorer people with lower income because they have the ability to save. So a poor person might spend 100% of their income, maybe even 110% of their income, but richer people might only spend 80% because then they are saving the other 20%, for example. And when people do end up spending more than what they make, we're going to call that dis savings. So I know you might think of that as like, oh, they're in debt. Like they spend more money than they have. They're in debt. We're going to use the word debt in this class to talk about like the national debt. But when we're talking about like a personal, like, credit card debt or something, we're going to use the word dis savings, which is negative savings. They're dis saving. And there's a direct relationship between income and savings. The more money that you make, the more you can save. And the less money you make, the less you save. In fact, you might actually have dis savings when you have low income. Okay, so that's just our relationship with our income, spending, and savings. Moving on to our first big concept this week. I guess I can save my picture there. Marginal propensities. Okay, so the word marginal means that there's been some sort of change, small incremental change. And then propensity means like people's likeliness to do something. So, for example, some people have the propensity, the likeliness to be honest, like they're honest all the time. That is their likeliness, that's their behavior, how they typically behave. Some people have the propensity to spend a lot of money or to save a lot of money. Well, that's what marginal propensities measure. It measures change of their spending and savings when your income changes. Like when your income changes, how much of that are you going to, is how is that going to affect your spending and how is that going to affect your savings? Our first equation is the marginal propensity to consume, or MPC for short, marginal propensity to consume. And that is the change of consumption, which is spending, change of consumption divided by the change of disposable income. Okay, so the word disposable income is there because that just means the money that you have after taxes. Like that's what disposable income means, the money that you have left over after you've paid your taxes, whatever you have left. So it's change of consumption over a change of disposable income. So let's say, here's our example. Let's say Miss Taylor, she makes, let's say $100. That's my paycheck, pretend, because we're going to do math. So let's make it easy, nice, pretty numbers. So Miss Taylor, she makes $100 and spends, let's say that I'm going to spend $90 of it. Okay, so Miss Taylor, she makes $100 and spends $90. But Miss Taylor is such a good worker, she gets a raise. So now she makes, let's say $200 and spends, let's say, I don't know, 120. 110, let's just say. So now I have two incomes and two spendings. So my original income was $100. My new income is $200. And so that would be my change of disposable income. That's what would go in the denominator. When calculating for MPC, change of income goes on the denominator. And so I was making 100, now I'm making 200. That's a difference of 100. That's my change of income, was $100. Well, my change of consumption goes on the numerator, which would be I originally was spending $90. Now I'm spending $110. That's the difference of $20. So 20 divided by 100 is going to be my MPC. And MPC in this class is always going to be in decimal form, so not in fractions like we currently have. So 2 over 10, which is 1/5. 1/5 MPC equals 0.2. MPC in this example is 0.2. And so that's my marginal propensity to consume. What that means, that 0.2, means that for every dollar of income that I make, I'm going to spend 20 cents. 20 cents of every single dollar I make. It doesn't seem like I'm a big spender in this example. And so my marginal propensity to consume is 0.2, saying that I spend 20% of any change of income, or for every dollar extra that I make, I'm going to spend 20 cents of it. The other equation is MPS, marginal propensity to save. And so that's your change of savings over your change of disposable income. So I could do that same example again and focus on how much I was saving, but actually it's a whole lot simpler than that. In my last problem, my MPC was 0.2. And since there's only two things that you can do with money, you can spend it or you can save it. If I'm spending 20 cents of every dollar that I make, then I must be saving the other 80 cents because there's only two options, spend or save. This is how much money I'm spending. So if I know that MPC plus MPS is equal to 1, and my MPC was 0.2, my marginal propensity to save is going to be 0.8. Those two added together always equals 1. So if you know MPC and you know MPS, or if you know MPC, you can easily solve for MPS and vice versa. If you know MPS, you can easily solve for MPC. All right, let's do one or two more practice questions. See if you can do it. Maybe you can pause the video, work it out, and see how well you did. So let's say that Ryan, that's my brother's name. I'm using my brother as an example. Let's say that Ryan spends $50 when he earns 70. And now he earns 100, he spends 60. Okay. So here's the example. Ryan spends $50 when he earns 70. So that's his spending. That's his original spending. And the $70 is his original income. He earns 70 and he spends $50 from it. And now he earns $100. Oh, that's his new income and spends $60. So figure out what would be on the numerator and denominator for MPC. And figure out what the MPC would be based off of that information, and then figure out what the MPS would be, knowing that MPC plus MPS is always equal to 1. So maybe pause it, see if you can figure it out as I do it. All right. So originally, the spending was $50. The new spending is $60. And the numerator for MPC is change of spending, change of consumption, which is 10, because that's the difference between our old spending and our new spending is $10. And for the denominator, that's the change of income. The income was $70. Now it's 100. The difference is 30. And so 10 divided by 30 in decimal form is going to be 0.3333, repeating. And if that's MPC, I can easily say that MPS, because I know that MPC plus MPS is always equal to 1 if you add them together. And if MPC is 0.33333, MPS is going to be 0.66, repeating. And so remember, MPC plus MPS is always equal to 1. All right, let's do one more. Let's say Richard. That's my dad's name. Richard saves $10 when he makes 50. Now he saves, let's do $30 when he makes, let's say, 70. Okay, so Richard saves $10 when he makes $50. And now he saves $30 when he makes 70. Okay, so this right here is going to be probably giving you enough information to solve for marginal propensity to save, because I'm giving you the saving numbers now. So make sure that you're solving for the right formula so you know which one is which. So before I was giving you spending changes, and now I'm giving you saving changes, which is probably what you need to know to solve for NPS. But solve for both. Solve for marginal propensity to save and solve for marginal propensity to consume. So pause the video, see if you can work it out, and then you can unpause and see if you got it right. Okay, so sometimes it can be tricky like this. The marginal propensity to save should be equal to 1, meaning that my change of savings was $10 originally, and now it's $30. That's the difference of $20. Yeah, he was saving 10, now he's saving 30. The difference is $20. His change of income was also $20 because he was making 50, now he's making 70. The difference is 20. So 20 divided by 20, that's 1. How could that be? Well, remember, MPC plus MPS always equal to 1 if you add them together. So MPS is 1, making MPC has to be 0. And what that means is Richard, he is a saver. Anytime that he makes any amount of money, he's going to save 100% of it and spend 0% of it. That's what those numbers mean. Those are basically like if you had $1, how much of it would you spend and how much of it would you save? So if he has $1, he's going to save all $1 of it, and then he's going to consume $0 of it. Okay. Not too hard, not too hard. But that's typically not what we're going to be doing with MPCs and MPSs. We're probably going to be doing something a little bit bigger, and we have to ask ourselves, what does this have to do with aggregate demand? So if you know MPC or MPS, you know how much people will spend and how much they will save when their income changes. And we know that fiscal policy changes our income. And so you can actually calculate how much aggregate demand and GDP will change when people's incomes change, like exactly how much people will spend and exactly how much people will save. And so we can like measure how much aggregate demand is going to shift by. And it's not as simple as you think. So C plus I plus G plus XN equals GDP. You might assume that if consumer spending goes up like $1, there's our equation on the board. If consumer spending goes up by $1, GDP goes up by $1. It actually goes up by a multiplied amount, and that's called the multiplier effect. Any change in aggregate demand, whether it's C, I, G, or XN, will bring about a greater change in GDP. It'll make GDP go up by a multiplied amount. So, and the larger the MPC, the more people spend, the larger the impact it'll be, the larger the multiplier it'll be. And so when people have a large MPC, that means people spend a lot of money. And if people don't spend a lot of money, then the impact won't be as great. So our first, or I guess fourth equation, if we're counting MPC plus MPS, is going to be the spending multiplier. And the spending multiplier calculates how much GDP will change due to a change of spending. The spending multiplier is often abbreviated as KS, spending multiplier, KS. And the KS formula is this. Ooh, hello. KS is equal to 1 divided by the MPS. Or you could think about it as 1 divided by 1 minus MPC. Because remember, MPC plus MPS equals to 1 if you add them together. So 1 minus MPC is MPS. So you don't have to memorize both of these, just one of these. I figure, where's my pencil? This it will work wonders. 1 over MPS, that is the equation for the spending multiplier. And so what do you do with this? Here, let me erase. I don't know if I can. I don't need to erase. There we go. You take the spending multiplier and you multiply it by spending. And so KS is going to be multiplied by any change of spending, and that's going to give you your change in GDP. So let's do a couple of these examples together. So first, let's just solve for the spending multiplier. So if I give you an MPC is 0.75, calculate what the spending multiplier is going to be. Calculate what the spending multiplier is going to be. Pause it if you need to. Well, the spending multiplier, KS, is equal to 1 over MPS. But, I don't have MPS. I have MPC. But remember, it's also 1 over 1 minus MPC. 1 minus 0.75, which is 1 over 0.25. And you can put that in a calculator, or you can just know basic math skills. 1 over 0.25 is 4. So KS is going to be equal to 4. So what does that mean? That means any change of spending that you have is going to have a 4 times effect on GDP. So if I spend $100, GDP is going to go up by 4 times, $400. Or if I spend $1 million, GDP is going to go up by 4 times that. GDP is going to go up by $4 million. This also works in reverse. What if people are afraid of a recession ahead and they stop spending? And they're like, oh, well, it's only $100. How bad could that be? But that's going to make GDP go down by 4 times that amount too. So minus, negative spending can make GDP go down by a multiplied amount. And so that just makes that recession that much worse. So I'm going to put some practice problems in Schoology. And I'm also going to put the key so you can go practice some of those. And I'll have it all worked out so you can see my steps and so you can see how well we've done. This is all our notes that we're taking today. So just go look at those practice problems in Schoology, work some of those out. We're going to be working on whiteboards tomorrow and the next day, doing some of these math practice problems and see how you did. All right, guys, have a great day. Bye.